Welcome to today's reading from the Krishna book, chapter 33, description of the Rasa dance. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thus, hearing the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna speaking to pacify them, the gopis became very pleased. They became completely relieved of the great suffering of separation, not only by hearing the words of Supreme Personality of Godhead, but also by touching his hands and legs. After this, the Supreme Personality of Godhead began his Rasa dance. A dance in the midst of many girls is called a Rasa dance. So Krishna began to dance among the most beautiful and fortunate girls within the three worlds. The gopis of Vrindavan, who were so attracted to him, danced with Krishna hand in hand. Krishna's Rasa dance should never be compared to any kind of material dance, such as a ball dance or a society dance. The Rasa dance is a completely spiritual performance. In order to establish this fact, Krishna, the supreme mystic, expanded himself into many forms and stood beside each gopi. Placing his hands on the shoulders of the gopis on both sides of him, he began to dance in their midst. The mystic expansions of Krishna were not perceived by the gopis because Krishna appeared alone to each of them. Each gopi thought that Krishna was dancing with her alone. Above that wonderful dance flew many airplanes carrying the denizens of the heavenly planets, who were very eager to see the wonderful dance of Krishna with the gopis. The Gandharvas and Kinnars began to sing, and accompanied by the respective wives, all the Gandharvas began to shower flowers on the dancers. As the gopis and Krishna danced together, a very blissful musical sound was produced from the tinkling of their bells, ornaments, and bangles. It appeared that Krishna was a greenish sapphire locket in the midst of a golden necklace, decorated with valuable stones. While Krishna and the gopis danced, they displayed extraordinary bodily features. The movements of their legs, their placing their hands on one another, the movements of their eyebrows, their smiling, the movements of the gopis and their clothes, their earrings, their cheeks, their hair with flowers as they sang and danced, with these combined to appear like clouds, thunder, snow, and lightning. Krishna's bodily features appeared just like a group of clouds. The gopis' songs were like thunder. Their beauty appeared to be just like lightning in the sky, and the drops of perspiration visible on their faces appeared like falling snow. In this way, the gopis and Krishna fully engaged in dancing. The necks of the gopis became tinted with red due to their desire to Krishna more and more. To satisfy them, Krishna began to clap his hands in time with their singing. Actually, the whole world is full of Krishna's singing, but it is appreciated in different ways by different kinds of living entities. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamya aham. Krishna is dancing and every living entity is also dancing, but there is a difference between the dancing in the spiritual world and that in the material world. This is expressed by the author of Chaitanya Charitamrit, who says that the master dancer is Krishna and everyone else is his servant. Everyone is trying to imitate Krishna's dancing. Those who are actually in Krishna consciousness respond rightly to the dancing of Krishna. They do not try to dance independently. But those in the material world try to imitate Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The living entities are dancing under the direction of Krishna's Maya and are thinking that they are equal to Krishna. But this is not a fact. In Krishna consciousness, this misconception is absent. For a person in Krishna consciousness knows that Krishna is the Supreme Master and everyone else is his servant. One has to dance to please Krishna, not Godhead. The gopis wanted to please Krishna, and therefore, as Krishna sang, they responded and encouraged him by saying, "Well done, well done." Sometimes they presented beautiful music for his pleasure, and he responded by praising their singing. When some of the gopis became very tired from dancing and moving their bodies, they placed their hands on the shoulders of Sri Krishna. Then their hair loosened and the flowers fell to the ground. When they placed their hands on Krishna's shoulder, they became overwhelmed by the fragrance of his body, which emanated from the lotus, other aromatic flowers, and the pulp of sandalwood. They became filled with attraction for him, and they began to kiss him. Some gopis touched Krishna's cheek to cheek, and Krishna began to offer them the chewed betel nuts, which they accepted with great pleasure, and by accepting those betel nuts, the gopis spiritually advanced. The gopis became tired after long singing and dancing. Krishna was dancing beside them, and to alleviate their fatigue, they took Krishna's hand and placed it on their shoulders. Krishna's hands, as well as the gopis, are eternally auspicious. Therefore, when they combined, both of them became spiritually enhanced. The gopis so enjoyed the company of Krishna, the husband of the goddess of fortune, that they forgot that they had any other husbands in the world, and upon being embraced by the arms of Krishna and dancing and singing with them, they forgot everything. Srimad Bhagavatam thus describes the beauty of the gopis while they were rasa dancing with Krishna. They were lotus flowers over both their ears, and their faces were decorated with sandalwood pulp. They wore tilak, and there were drops of perspiration on their smiling mouths. From their feet came the tinkling sound of the ankle bells and bangles. The flowers within their hair were falling to the lotus feet of Krishna, and he was very satisfied. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, all these gopis are expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency. Touching their bodies with their hands and looking at their pleasing eyes, Krishna enjoyed the gopis exactly as a child enjoys playing with the reflection of his body in a mirror. When Krishna touched the different parts of their bodies, the gopis felt surcharged with spiritual energy. They could not adjust their loosened clothes, therefore they tried to keep them adjusted properly. Their hair and garments became scattered, and the ornaments loosened as they forgot themselves in the company of Krishna. While Krishna was enjoying the company of the gopis in the rasa dance, the astonished demigods and their wives gathered in the sky. The moon, being afflicted with a sort of lust, began to watch dance and became stunned with wonder. The gopis had prayed to the goddess Katyayani to have Krishna as their husband. Now Krishna was fulfilling their desire by expanding himself in as many forms as there were gopis and enjoying them exactly like a husband. Srila Shukadev Goswami has remarked that Krishna is self-sufficient. He is Atmaram. He doesn't need any. Because the gopis wanted Krishna as their husband, he fulfilled their desire. When Krishna saw that the gopis were tired from dancing with him, he immediately began to wipe his hands over their faces so that their fatigue would be relieved. In order to reciprocate the kind of hospitality of Krishna, the gopis began to look at him lovingly. They were overjoyed by the auspicious touch of the hand of Krishna. Smiling cheeks shone with beauty, and they began to sing the glories of Krishna with transcendental pleasure. As pure devotees, the more the gopis enjoyed Krishna's company, the more they became enlightened with his glories, and thus they reciprocated with him. They wanted to satisfy Krishna by glorifying his transcendental pastimes. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all masters, and the gopis wanted to worship him for his unusual exhibition of mercy upon them. The gopis and Krishna entered the water of the Yamuna just to relieve their fatigue from the rasa dance. The lily flower garlands around the necks of the gopis were strewn to pieces due to the gopis embracing the body of Krishna, and the flowers were reddish from being smeared with the kunkuma on their bodies. The bumblebees were humming about in order to get honey from the flowers. Krishna and the gopis entered the water of the Yamuna just as an elephant enters a water tank with many female companions. Both the gopis and the Krishna forgot their real identities, playing in the water, enjoying each other's company, and relieving the fatigue of rasa dancing. The gopis began to splash water on the body of Krishna, all the while smiling, and Krishna enjoyed this. As Krishna was taking pleasure in joking words and splashing water, the demigods in the heavenly planets showered flowers. The demigods thus praised the super excellent Rasa dance of Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, and his pastimes with the gopis in the water of the Yamuna. After this, Lord Krishna and the gopis came out of the water and began to stroll along the bank of the Yamuna, where a nice breeze was blowing, carrying the aroma of different kinds of flowers over the water and land. While strolling on the bank of the Yamuna, Krishna recited various kinds of poetry. He thus enjoyed the company of the gopis in the soothing moonlight in autumn. Sexual desire is especially excited in the autumn season, but the wonderful thing about the Krishna's association with the gopis is that there was no question of this kind of desire. It was as clearly stated in the Bhagavad description by Shukadev Goswami, Avaruddha Saurata, the sex impulse was completely controlled. There is distinction between Lord Krishna's dancing with the gopis and the ordinary dancing of living entities within the material world. In order to clear up further misconceptions about the Rasa dance and the affairs of Krishna and the gopis, Maharaj Parikshit, the hearer of Srimad Bhagavatam, told Shukadev Goswami, Krishna appeared on the earth to establish the regulative principles of religion and to curb the predominance of irreligion. But the behavior of Krishna and the gopis might encourage irreligious principles in the material world. I am simply surprised that he would act in such a way, enjoying the company of others' wives in the dead of night. This statement of Maharaj Parikshit's was very much appreciated by Shukadev Goswami. The answer anticipates the abominable acts of the Mayavadi impersonalists who place themselves in the position of Krishna and enjoy the company of young girls and women. The basic Vedic injunctions never allow a person to enjoy sex with any woman except his own wife. The appreciation of the gopis appeared to be distinctly in violation of these rules. Maharaj Parikshit understood the total situation from Shukadev Goswami. Yet to further clarify the transcendental nature of Krishna and the gopis in the Rasa dance, he expressed his surprise. This is very important in order to check the unrestricted association by the women by the Prakrit Sahajiyas. In this statement, Maharaj Parikshit has used several important words which require clarification. The first word, Jugupsitam, means abominable. The first doubt of Maharaj Parikshit was as follows. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead who had advented himself to establish religious principles. Why then did he mix with others' wives in the dead of night and enjoy dancing, embracing and kissing? According to the Vedic injunctions, this is not allowed. Also, when the gopis first came to him, he gave them instructions to return to their homes. To call the wives of other persons or young girls and enjoying dancing with them is certainly abominable according to the Vedas. Why should Krishna have done this? Another word used here is apat kama. Some may take it for granted that Krishna was very lusty among young girls, but Parikshit Maharaj said that this was not possible. He could not be lusty. First of all, from the material calculation, he was only 8 years old. At that age, a boy cannot be lusty. Apat kam means that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is self-satisfied. Even if he were lusty, he doesn't need to take help from others to satisfy his lusty desires. The next point is that although not lusty himself, he might have been seduced by the lusty desires of the gopis, but Maharaj Parikshit then used the other word Yadupati, which indicates that Krishna is the most exalted personality in the dynasty of the Yadus. The kings in the dynasty of Yadus were considered to be most pious, and the descendants were also like that. Having taken birth in that family, how could Krishna have been seduced even by gopis? It is concluded therefore that it was not possible for Krishna to do anything abominable. Maharaj Parikshit was in doubt as to why Krishna acted in that way. What was the real purpose? Another word Maharaj Parikshit used when he addressed Shukadev Goswami is Suvrata, which means to take a vow to enact pious activities. Shukadev Goswami was an educated brahmachari, and under the circumstances, it was not possible for him to indulge in sex. This is strictly prohibited for brahmacharis, and what to speak of a brahmachari like Shukadev Goswami. But because the circumstances of the Rasa dance were very suspect, Maharaj Parikshit inquired for clarification from Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami immediately replied that transgressions of religious principles by the Supreme Controller satisfied to his great power. For example, fire can consume any abominable thing, that is the manifestation of the supremacy of fire. Similarly, the sun can absorb water from the urinal or from stool, and the sun is not polluted. Rather, due to the influence of the sunshine, the polluted, contaminated place becomes disinfected and sterilized. Okay, we will finish our reading here and we'll continue from here onwards tomorrow. It's a very deep subject, and we just have to remember one thing, that whatever we are hearing or reading with our material eyes, it should not be accepted as we understand in this world. This is on a spiritual platform, and this is the Supreme Lord. And just try to keep our conscious clear and focus that it's Krishna and his spiritual activities going on with the sages who were given the boon by Ramchandra Bhagwan, that they can come as gopis and he will give them pleasure. See you all tomorrow. Thank you, Narayan Kesha Prabhu, for watching. Hare Krishna.